All systems go. Clear for takeoff.
Baby, we're back talking some MMA. Join as usual, my guy, Big Marley in the top right, and this legend down below. Many probably know him. We talk about him a lot in the YouTube chat, asking great questions. Sheets is his name you see right here. Real name Eric, and you will see him probably above you most times than not in the DraftKings leaderboard. M. Habes. Big Marley, got to throw it to you first, my man. We'll leave Sheets down here a little longer, but 10 a.m. Eastern, pay-per-view season, 13 fights, baby. Please, 13 fights. Only one weight miss, 3.5 pounds. But from everything I've seen, fight looks good to go. What's going on, Big Marley? And congrats to you. Last Monday, King of the Beach, baby. I haven't seen you since then. Hopefully we can get you, myself, everyone to the King of the Beach. What's going on, Big Marley? How you doing?
Not much, man. I think we got a really tough card this week, so I'm excited to talk to you guys. Hopefully get some underdog plays from you that I can get more interest in. But, I mean, I'm feeling a little poor with that. Just King of the Beach win with Sheets over here getting $29K last night, title $81K. Congrats to both of you guys. I'm a little under the weather, but I'll try and be a little short-winded on this one. But hopefully we can crash this card and wreck it. Ship it nation all the way.
Yeah. Hey, we don't need many words from you, Marley. Just a couple winners. I appreciate that, though. King of the Beach, awesome. Appreciate those words. Eric appreciated. Siggy, Sprite Soda, Ross Kane here, our man. Clinton here as well. What a year for Clint. Hey, I follow you, Clint, on Twitter. Watch from the distance, but what a year you've been having. Good to see you in here. Chris Torres in here as well. Justin Sullivan. Sheets, time to bring you in, man. You're all around in the DFS industry. Talk a little bit about, you do some content as well. Can talk about that a little bit. You have a similar style to me. I follow your lineups in a lot of sports all the time. You like the slogan, I think, like I like. It's not how often you win, when you win, how much do you win. MMA is a good sport for that. And we have a good card for that as well. 13 fights. It feels like a long time since we've had that, but I've talked too long. Take it away, Sheets. How you doing?
Thanks, man. I mean, legend this, legend that. I'm just trying to learn like everybody else, man. I mean, this is a tough game. It's a tough sport. You know, I came originally from the poker community, you know, when we ran training sites there, and I was one of the better poker players, and then I backed like 7 zillion people, you know, and all that stuff. But DFS is very, you know, listen, it's an interesting sport. My real job is a hedge fund manager, and it's very, very similar to portfolio management and stock market picking and the difference between picking good companies versus good stocks that fit in portfolios and things like that. We could spend, you know, 30 hours on those types of analogies and stuff like that. But much respect to you guys. That's one of the reasons I'm on here. I mean, when I see all you young guys put in all the work and all the content and be able to play. I mean, you guys have already left that first hurdle in that you provide really honest takes, and you know how the industry is, man. You know, like you'll see people, see content providers, they all agree with each other all the time, and no matter what happens, they'll say they had it. You guys do a real good, honest job. You work really, really hard. And not only that, but you guys are really good communicators too. So I'm just happy to be a part of this whole industry. Honestly, it's really fascinating. And whatever I can help you guys with, I'll be more than happy to.
Yeah, we appreciate those words a lot. And you're a legend, man. People out there, yeah, he's talking poker way before my time. I was in diapers. I always tell myself I'm happy with my age and I'm young, but man, if it was 15 years younger, that poker community, I probably would have been in Vegas living there for a little bit. Great time, still play some poker, but yeah, not the glory days, but DFS, man, it's a great game. We're all here. We all try to make money, but you're going to lose a lot more than you win. It's the community we build over here. Try and give honest takes. Like you said, it's not how often you win, when you win, how much is it? And this is a great card, man. $200,000 up top. It's shouldn't say very likely by any means, but it's very real chance that there is a solo shipper, 2-3 dupes, something like that. And I don't think you have to be crazy and leave 2,000 plus or anything like that on the table to get there. Sheets, I'll go to you, then I'll go to Big Marley, and we'll go fight by fight like usual. But initial landscape of this slate.
Yeah, well, this is what I was going to say. I mean, it's great to have a 13-fight card for no other reason that I don't have to do these horrible things to my lineups to try to be unique. Like
you're on the nerdy train now.
It seems like for the past 4 weeks we've had these 10-fight cards, and I've been doing all kinds of crazy mad scientist stuff. Like, well, all I got to do is leave 11,000 on the table and play more Emily Ducote than Terrence McKinney and stuff like that. Like, these are the things that you have to do when you're hunting for that 200,000. At least with a 13-fight card, I feel as though you have a chance to play some, I guess, reasonable type plays and at least not be completely overduped, So it kind of messes with your head, these 10-fight cards. So, knock wood, we have a 13-fight card, and you have a good mix of everything, man. You have some line value, you have some sort of mispriced, you have some good inside the distance props, you have a whole bunch of 9K guys that kind of feel similar, and you might not need to play any of them, So it's and I reiterate what you said, is that I do have a very similar style to you, specifically in MMA. As I listen to you guys' breakdowns, I'm like, okay, he's going to do this, and we're totally on the same page. There was one time where I posted my Discord, you're like, dude, I knew this. That's exactly what you do and stuff like that. So I'm curious to see where we are here. And, we never talk about any of this stuff beforehand. And I think what's going to be cool is maybe we come out completely disagreeing on everything, which is perfectly healthy as well.
100%. I think today, of all things, like, I don't know necessarily where you're going. Like you said, like, I think you can eat any chalk on this slate. You can make good lineups with anybody. I think any two fighters, whoever you think the two chalkiest fighters on the card this week, I think you can still make good lineups with them around. There's enough low-owned pivots. You mentioned that 9K range. I mean, good luck. We'll go through it for sure. I'm in agreement there. Big Marley, what are your initial thoughts?
I just think it's so tough because I agree with every single favorite being a favorite. Maybe not as much as the line says, but it's just hard to pick underdogs. And I feel like maybe there's going to be one or two underdogs on the card that wins, and you got to get it right. So I'm hoping you guys can talk those underdogs into me. I got a couple of ways I'm thinking of getting different on this card. But for me, I don't think I'm going to be leaving much salary on the table, and it's going to be like two underdogs if I can in most lineups. So we'll see.
Yeah, I love it. And I appreciate that, Robert Pena. Yes, 25. Sprite Soda, my man Siggy, appreciate that as well. Again, first thing I actually want to say, 10 a.m. Eastern, so 7 a.m. by me. It depends where you live. I'm going to be getting my lineups in tonight, setting an alarm, making sure no cancellations. If you want to do it in the morning, probably set an alarm. Just know your schedule bright and early in Abu Dhabi. And you have the rest of the night. Do something with the wife, with friends. Do whatever you want to do. Build some NFL lineups. If you do want to join us at chippination.com, we have multiple options. We have $69 a month. Comes out to $59 a month for our 6-month package. And then the yearly package comes out to $49 a month. Get in the Discord if you do join too. Sheets is in there. Our man Siggy, I got to bring him in right here. He said, where is it? Sheets always in the cord, helping everybody out. Drops his MMA thoughts, again, in the Discord, usually after the show. Very sharp there. So appreciate everyone hanging out. Again, a lot of words, great words the last night, this morning as well. Very much appreciated over here. That does not go unnoticed. Let's go first fight of the night. Talk some fights. That's why you guys are here. Pretty fun one to start the card. I might butcher some of these names. A lot of foreigners. I still play all the sports. I do not know all 300-plus UFC roster names exactly. Starting off, Sherbin Magomedov. Butcher that first name. Magomedov, pretty easy. Taking on Bruno Silva. I would say a big favorite, but for the nature of this card, not very big. Minus 280 to minus 300 for Magomedov, plus 240 for Bruno Silva. This fight, minus 270 to finish. Magomedov, minus 135. Bruno Silva, plus 335. Big Marley, I'll start with you in this one. How do you see this first one going down?
Yeah, Magomedov's a hyped-up prospect, one-eyed prospect, but he's dangerous. He knocks out almost everybody he faces. And he is a striker, first and foremost, though. So Bruno Silva's getting the matchup that he's going to want here. And when salaries were released, Magomedov was like minus 230. Now he's almost minus 300. So his line has jumped up 5%. And I don't know that I even really agree with it because I do think he's a good striker, a scary striker. But Silva's never been knocked out before in a ton of fights. He just faced Alex Pereira not too long ago, went 3 rounds with him. Pereira's a better striker than Magomedov. And if Magomedov doesn't get a first-round knockout, I don't see him wrestling in this matchup. I see it being hard for him to pay off this price tag without a first-round knockout. And with all this line value now at 8,600, I think he'll be pretty popular. So I'm trying to get away from him. He does have a minus 135 inside the distance line. Silva's never been knocked out before, but he was dropped by the last 2 grapplers he faced, which isn't great. This guy's more dangerous than them. So it's definitely in play that he gets the knockout, but I just don't really agree with that minus 135 inside the distance line. So I'm going to go underweight on Magomedov, and I've kind of shifted my interest over to Bruno Silva as a live dog. I don't see him having a ceiling either without an early knockout, but I just think it'll be easier for him to pay off 7,600 in a decision. And with all the line value headed towards Magomedov, I just don't think the field will be on Silva either. So I'm picking Magomedov just because I'm more impressed with him overall as my outright pick. But on DraftKings, my preferred play is Bruno Silva, so I'll be rooting for him.
I promise I won't take up as much time on all the other fights as I will on this one. But there's something I want to stress with you guys. First of all, you guys haven't put out your ownership projections yet for the slate yet, right?
Correct. It's on the site. I got to get the projection in there, and then it'll go over on the site. After this, I like putting everything up so people they tune into the show. They don't just read everything first. So
I do have numbers, though.
I mentioned it because Marley brought up the fact that he could be pretty highly owned, which is really very important, especially for this fight. And let me start by saying that one of the things that I do on my other site is I do aggregate ownership projections, meaning that I just look at all the different ownership projections from everywhere in the industry. And what I do is kind of neat, like I back test them for accuracy. So then when I just kind of put them all together, I give people credit for being better than other people. You guys haven't been around long enough yet for me to make it into that model. But just to give you guys a little bit of a shout out, since I've been tracking you guys, you are literally the top projector of ownership of all of the people I track within judged by like who's closer to the actual results. And as we get into this world of like contest sims and stuff like that, where you need to have really good ownership projections, whatever you guys are doing as far as that goes, just keep that up. Okay.
Shout out that man up there. I will say, shout out Big Marley for that. Yeah. Big Marley
so the point is though, is that, and I try not to like get involved with who I like. The fact is that this dude, he's a minus 260 or whatever, and he's got a minus 125, 130 inside the distance prop, and he's 8,600. In a vacuum, that's like kind of like a lock. You know, like if this were a 10-fight card, for example, and you'd almost have to lock him in. There's another guy that's sort of a little bit better we'll get to later. But those metrics are really, really tough to fade. Okay, now, with that said, and we talk about this dynamic all the time, whenever you have someone whose metrics are really tough to fade, like a real smash play, the first question you have to ask is his opponent like a good enough play? You know, because if the opponent is a good enough play and the other fighter is an incredible play, the good enough play is a leverage play that you really have to consider, you know, and you look at the Bruno Silva side of it, and look, he's got the bad line value now. And number two, his inside the distance line is, I mean, it's under normal circumstances not great, but considering that it's possible that Magomedov is going to be highly owned again, I don't know that yet. I haven't looked at the ownership projections. I think that you need to really consider putting Bruno Silva on a pretty short list of high leverage underdogs. So yeah, I mean, a vacuum, Magomedov. I mean, how do you not play an $8,600 guy with an inside the distance line that's befitting of a $9,100, $9,200 guy? But if he is in fact going to be that highly owned, Bruno Silva does come into play as a bit of leverage. So I wonder where you're going to come in with this, because I wonder if people are really
35 and 16. I'll mention it before everything, because I'll get the projection, and hopefully I'll get it up on the site throughout. But I'll mention the ownership what we have right now, 35-16. I'm thinking maybe a little higher for Silva, but maybe not. I mean, like I said, Big Marley's been spot on. He's been better ownership than me, but that's
title. Do you think though that people are really gonna take this 10 a.m. freaking fight and jam it, you know, with a guy they have never seen before? I don't know. I mean, they have to, because I mean the metrics are too strong. Yeah. I don't know. I wonder.
No, I think because of the props, I think 35, like I said, I think that number really makes sense. If anything, I'd go maybe 18, Silva, something like that. What I think you brought it up earlier, like the metrics, the price, the line movement, he looks like a smash play. Someone else does too. I don't know if you're hinting at Trevor Peek at 8,200, but for me, when I'm looking at chalk like that, I like the Trevor Peek chalk a lot more than I like this chalk, because I mean, Peek's just really a striker too, but the pace of Trevor Peek fights, the price at 8,200, whereas this, as a primary striker, if he's plus 165 to like plus 235 in round one, so he's not favored in round one. And like Marley said, round two might not be enough. It could just be 90 points, and there's a big ceiling on this one. So I'm actually leaning the Silva side a little bit too. We need dogs. We need value. Bruno Silva, I mean, he fought Alex Pereira. I mean, he took his shots. Like, he has been knocked down. He hasn't been knocked out. That could change, but he has knockout power himself. He's going to get the fight he wants. So, yeah, I'm the dog more so at the ownership, and it's like I just rather eat the Peak chalk. I know Volk's going to get some. Like, I'm going to be eating some of the main event chalk, stuff like that. So this would be some of my least favorite chalk is how I see it.
Remind me when you get to one of the underdogs that you like Volkanovski and stuff. I have an idea of how to play guys like that I have to remember to share with you guys.
Awesome. Sounds good. Yeah. So that's the first fight of the night. And I will mention ownership throughout for each fight. And that'll always be on the site, and appreciate that. Again, so this guy's sharp down here. He's studying all of them. That's what you got to do. See where the field's going. It's not only building your own lineups, trying to exploit the field, which we talk about a lot on here, showdown and that. So that's the first fight of the night. A great fight, but a lot of these are great fights too. Next fight on the card, one of the lowest owned cumulative fights, Victoria Dudakova taking on Jin Yu Fry, 9,200 for Dudakova, 7K for Fry. Looking at the odds, Dudakova coming in, wow, it's like minus 550, minus 560, might even be minus 600 by lock time. She's definitely taking a lot of money. Fight to finish, plus 115. Fry, plus 1,500 inside the distance. Dudakova, plus 115. We're looking at our ownership on this one. Dudakova, 23%. We have Jin Yu Fry, 9%. Sheets, I'll start with you in this one. I think we'll be on the same page. It's gross. Like, betting for me, it's a dog or pass all day with Jin Yu Fry. DFS, though, Dudakova wants it on the mat. Going to be pretty low owned. We have 23%. I wouldn't be surprised at like 19, 18, something like that, because that upper range is loaded and you want finishes. It's not fun clicking the women's MMA fight that's expected to go the distance, but yeah, I'm going to have some. What about you?
Yeah, see, this is the type of fighter this is the type of spot that loses me zillions in these 10 fight cards. You know, when Terrence McKinney is a lock and he's going to be 70% owned, these are the types of women that I pick in fading Terrence McKinney, like whatever her name was last week. Like Lisboa and the other one, whatever it is.
Ducati, all of them.
Yep,
yeah,
all of it. On a 13 fight card, I almost want to take a week off from playing plays like this. You know, like Dudakova, here's the thing. Like, whenever you play like Dudakova and people that, yes, if they wrestle and it works, they could smash. I guess she's a good wrestler. You know, there's a rumor that she's a good wrestler. You know, like,
I wouldn't say good.
No, we have evidence of like Russian lower level regional tape. You know, so the parlay for her to beat like these 89, 90K fighters requires, number one, she actually be good at wrestling, which is something. Number two, she goes for it. Number three, it works against someone who I think has a 90% takedown defense, which is Jin Yu Fry. But what you always have is she's going to be low owned. So I don't think I'm going to do it this week. I have to do something, you know. And listen, you guys are too young, but you know, I have kids, and when you apply to college with kids, sometimes they apply to small schools, sometimes big schools. And when you apply to a huge school, what we always tell them is you have to try to find a way to make the big schools feel small, you know, so you can get and that's the way, like slates like this, sometimes you got to make the big slates feel a little smaller. So I have to take some stand somewhere. I think this week the Dudakova is just going to, like I said, I think I just need a week off from plays like this.
Makes sense.
And then on the other side of this, Jin Yu Fry, my comment on these plus 400s in general is the same. The only time I really play fighters that are plus 400 to win is when their opponent is going to be highly owned. Okay, so you can get a little bit of leverage. So I'm going to be probably off the Jin Yu Fry, and I'm going to be, I mean, look, in 150, I'm obviously going to have some sprinkles of Dudakova, whatever. But it's going to take me quite a bit of lineups for me to get there.
Makes some sense. Yeah, no fry interest at all over here. There's a lot of live dogs, I think, that have way more upside. What you said, though, you mentioned three things, and the number two is the reason I'll have someone do Dudakova. You said that she's actually going to wrestle, and I'd be shocked. Like, I don't think she has any stand-up, which is why I'm confident 5-10, like she'll chain takedowns. Will it work? Who knows? Probably not. It'll probably be one of those boring fights. I'll donate money, like your side sheets, but it makes sense what you're saying. You don't need to do it on this card. Why go through that pain? I'll probably still go through that pain again. What about you, Big Marley?
Yeah, Frey's going to be the first person I X out of my player pool. This is a striker versus grappler matchup. I don't see her getting a knockout. She's probably spending time on her back. If she wins a striking-based decision, she could score less than multiple losers on this card. So I'm just completely out on Frey. And I do like Dudakova. And I kind of thought that my 23% might be a little bit high. So I think maybe you around 19 could be more correct. And that makes me like her even more. I really like her as an ownership play away from these more expensive, or not more expensive, but more owned fighters, because I do trust her to want to get the fight to the ground. I don't think she's a good wrestler, but I think she will consistently try to get takedowns, and she's got those judo throws or whatnot. And my thing is, once she gets the fight to the ground, I think she keeps it there or finishes it.
Hey,
so
Marley,
that's what I like about her.
Hey, Marlon, when you say you X her out, I mean, is that something that you do? In other words, you put your projections up in, what do you guys use, Solver over at Chip and Nation?
Yeah, Solver.
Do you just put your projections up there and just let it roll? Or do you manually say, you know what, I don't even care if my projections get her 5%. I'm just making the subjective decision to X her out. Because that's something I struggle with, is how to handle that. You're
NFL too. I always I'll just sort it by salary, and then I X out anybody I know I don't want in my lineups. I'm not 150 lineup builder.
Okay.
If I had 150, I mean, shit, I still might not want any Frey with 150, to be honest with you. But yeah, I literally X them out, and then on the solver, I'll click selected only, so that I don't even see their name anymore.
Okay.
And I will do that for her, especially with 20 or less lineups this week. But Dudakova is somebody I really am interested in, because I think she could finish the fight in any round. And her best work's going to come on the ground. I think even if she fails her first 3 or 4 takedown attempts, she's going to keep going for them. Rather than like a Curtis Blades who has some striking to fall back on, she only has the grappling. So I do trust that she's going to get it there. And I think she's going to put up a decent score. So I kind of like Dudakova, and she'll be a leverage play for me.
I like it. I like it a lot. Clinton here is saying Dudakova didn't look great on the scales, though. Don't love seeing that. Lou in here as well. What's up, Lou? Brian as well. We appreciate that like button. A lot going on. Haven't asked for that, but it takes 1 second out of your day. Watching live, watching on playback. We appreciate it a ton. Subscribe button helps us out on the channel as well. Show Sheets some love, taking some time out of his day, talking some MMA with us for this big pay-per-view card. Let's keep it rolling. Next fight on the card, Nathaniel Wood taking on Muhammad Naimov. 9,000 for Wood, 7,200 for Naimov. Looking at the odds, Nathaniel Wood, another big favorite, about -300. So I shouldn't say my big favorite for a card like this at -300. Naimov plus 250 on the way back. This fight pretty much a coin flip to finish, -105, +105 at some books. Wood plus 175 inside the distance. Naimov plus 400. At our ownership, we have Nathaniel Wood at 18%, Naimov at 14%. So it looks to be another low-owned fight. I do agree. I think those numbers are pretty close. Big Marley, I'll throw to you. I'll say this first. People, you play a lot of MMA. So many names, though, might not remember. Naimov is the guy that ruined Chalk Jamie Malarkey night for all those people back there. So he's coming down to his proper weight class, which is nice. He did make weight too. That fight was 155 on short notice. This one, 145. Nathaniel Wood, though, was a 135er, came up to 145. All the skills, but the chin a little questionable, Marley, is how my thoughts on this one. What about you?
Yeah, chin is a little questionable. That's what puts Naimov in play. He's knockout or bust. Really just to win, he's got to get the knockout, in my opinion, because I don't know where he has Wood covered anywhere. I just think Wood is so much more skilled than him. Anywhere this fight goes, he's going to be the higher volume striker, the much cleaner striker, the more powerful striker, in my opinion, the better wrestler, the better control grappler. I like everything about Wood, except for the durability is an issue, but he's not getting put out. He's getting dropped, and he hangs in there, which I like. Eventually, that's going to give away, though. I just don't think Naimov's the guy. Like, when he knocked out Malarkey, it was the most awkward knockout. Like, Malarkey was going to go for a takedown, and he just stopped with his face right in front of Naimov instead, and gave up on the idea instead and just got knocked out. I mean, Wood's much better than Malarkey, and Malarkey was winning every minute of that fight until the knockout. Naimov was also out-wrestled by a Colin Anglin, which is not good on the Contender Series. So I think enough ownership is going to be on Naimov for that knockout potential. I'm looking to fade him. I'm a big fan of Nathaniel Wood. I love his skills. And as long as the durability holds up, I really like him to win this fight. And I like that he's going to be low owned as well. I think he could land 100+ strikes in this one, maybe 3 to 5 takedowns as well. So I think that the potential high score is there. If he was going to be owned, then I wouldn't like him. I think most likely he scores 80 points or something like that. But if he's going to be 18% owned, I think maybe he's more than 20% likely to be on the optimal lineup. So I'll get a little bit of leverage on the Wood side, but it's Wood or pass for me.
Yeah, no, I'm in lockstep with you. I think Wood is better wherever the fight goes. I'm a big fan of Nathaniel Wood. I think he's a complete stud, very technical. It's just, man, the chin can go. That's why I'm playing some Naimov, and in the pool, I think it's most of his win equity is KO or bust, though. And as far as Nathaniel Wood, yeah, I think he's going to be pretty low owned. A lot of people in his range, better finishing odds, 6.24 significant strikes per minute, 1.7 takedowns. He has outs, and I think he's a stud there. So, yeah, another pretty low-owned person in the 9K range. I see multiple pass. I'm saying he breaks them with the pressure and stuff and finishes Naimov too. So, Sheets, what are you doing in this one?
Yeah, this is thematic for me, man. This is Sheets week off. It's Sheets week off from these plays. You know, I played too many of these Nathaniel Wood plays in 10-fight cards with high price tags and poor inside the distance lines and not exactly even sure if they're going to go for those takedowns. He might, he could, maybe not. So, and they make it tough on you because they make him only 15% owned, you know? So everybody sees what I see. But again, I just feel as though I'm on this particular card, I can find my leverage elsewhere, and I'm just not going to do it. Naimov on the other side, you know, I'll have to tell you, if you like him, Marley, if you think that like his only path to victory is knockout, I mean, that's exactly the guy you want to play, you know, because he's only plus 240 or so to win. You know, he's going to win the fight 30% of the time, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of knockout or bust type fighters on this card, though, and I like others' potential to get that knockout more.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just not playing any of these guys, I think.
I like it. I'm really curious what you're going to say about this next one. Anshul Jubli taking on Mike Breeden.
Yeah, I'll start with this. Okay, so
do you want any ownership? Do you want the Mike Breeden?
I don't want any of this. Okay,
well, I'll say one thing. Mike Breeden, for the people out there, Mike Breeden was the only one to miss weight, and he missed by 3.5 pounds. Go ahead.
Yeah. So in addition to DFS, I do betting stuff too. And when I do my betting shows, it's literally the exact opposite. I'm ultra contrarian. I figure out what's the most likely thing to happen, and I bet the opposite. I mean, literally, it's actually pretty funny. And I don't know what the Mike Breeden became like, just the ultra genius like underdog play of the week in like the last like 4 days in the Twitter sphere. I just can't do stuff like that, you know. So I get it. I hear it, and I'm here the Jubli. How the hell is someone like this minus 300? For DFS, I try to not get wrapped up in the narratives too much, okay? And what I see is the guy's got wrestling, and he's got about an even money shot, according to the line, to finish the fight, okay? So for me, this is a guy I want to play. So I actually really, really like the Jubli side. Listen, it sucks that Breeden missed weight, and he's going to be able to fight because it's 4 more pounds of people that he has to take down. But whatever, maybe that keeps his ownership down a little bit too, because this is literally the play, the Jubli side, getting the most hate from like all of the experts out there. How on earth are you playing him? Breeden is the side, whatever it is. All I'm looking at is the numbers here. He's still about what, plus 110 inside the distance. He's got the wrestling. I'm going to be playing the Jubli side.
I get it for sure, and that's why I have interest in the Wood, in the Dudakova. Yeah. You could call me the donkey. I rarely ever bet. My dumbass bet Mike Breeden early in the week. I shouldn't say that. I think I beat some line value. I don't know anymore.
Well, you definitely did.
Yeah. I didn't know if it moved much after the weight miss. You cut me off before I got to the odds part, but no, messing with you. Yeah, no, I'm on the Breeden side too. He's fought good Alexander Hernandez, Terrence McKinney, like. He's fought good guys. Jubli's fought no one. Everyone, all those donkeys out there saying the same thing as me, but that's how you make the money, Sheets. It's just nice for me on this 13-fight card. I can play the Woods, play the Dudakovas, and then I play 150. So, yes, I'm going to have a little Jubli, but like when the 20 and below, I do, because that's how I make my slate plan over here. When I do my 20, I do like Marley, X out those guys before I even build 150. I rarely ever do, but yeah, I get all your take sheets. Where are you on this one, Marley?
Yeah, I'm on Sheets' side on this one. I would like Breeden more if everybody didn't like Breeden this week, but I see him being maybe 20% or more owned this week at this point now, where people are hunting for underdogs and they want to be able to pay up for these other fighters. It just makes a lot of sense to throw Breeden in there because he could turn out to be the better striker. He could turn out to be the better wrestler because we've only seen one really good performance from Jubli. However, I was very impressed in that one Jubli performance. And even though it's one impressive performance, that's still one more impressive performance than Breeden has ever shown me. So give me Jubli to get this fight to the ground and have some great top control. Score a lot of points in the process of putting this guy away in like the second round. He scored 115 points in his debut. Breeden was taken down 8 or 9 times against Levy. I think 115 points is in play again. And with all this line value going to Breeden, his ownership's going to go up, but Jubli's is going to go down. So he's a leverage play for sure.
No, yeah, I agree with you. And he has the wrestling upside for sure, which is why like I didn't put him as a fade either. Like I bet Breeden, but the pass there, same thing as the Dudakovas of the world and all that. The wrestling upside's there. He's not going to get the ownership. People talking themselves out of it. So I get it for sure. I prefer Little Wood and Dudakova. Sheets prefers Jubli. Still a bunch of fights left on the card, though. And again, like button helps us out a ton. Subscribe button as well. If you want to join us at chippingnation.com, head over there. We have monthly, 6-month, and yearly packages. All MMA projections, ownership, slate plans, core plays, all will be up on the site. NFL, huge weekend coming up as well. 200K up top in MMA, man. Feels nice to say those words. Next fight on the card, Cedric Dumas taking on Abu Azaitar. Dumas 8,400, Azaitar 7,800. Dumas coming in about minus 250. Abu plus 210 on the other side. This fight's minus 215 to finish. Dumas plus 110. Abu plus 250. And looking at our odds, we have Dumas coming in about 28%, Abu 20%. Yeah, like so Dumas at 28%, maybe it's 30 or something like that, but he's right in between Magomedov and Trevor Peek, who I think is higher owned. You can throw Islam right there at 8,700 too. So Dumas isn't going to be low owned by any means, but in this range, maybe forgotten a little bit cheats. I mean, looking at the win equity, the props and all that, 28%, if that's what it is, I want to be overweight on that number. What are your thoughts on this fight, though?
Yeah, we're finally lockstep. I really like, and you guys like saying it, lockstep, right? So
yeah.
I'm trying to get with the program. But yeah, so I think Dumas is a great play. Very similar, just a very similar logic to Magomedov, sort of, is that he's 8,400 and like plus 110 inside, and not to mention it's possible he has grappling. It's hard to say. Because he kind of like fell into the good positions against Brundage.
He'll just pull guillotine and send you there.
Yeah, and he certainly didn't look great against Prem. But listen, the metrics are just too strong for me to overcome. And considering that the over 9K guys, I'm really not going to be that into, and these big cheap dogs I'm not going to be into. These middling builds are just kind of where I'm drawn to this week. So I agree with you completely. I think Dumas is beside.
Any Abu, obviously not going to have 0, but 70, like not great win equity by any means for the price in that. But in a fight that's supposed to finish, he has power. Any taking a chance there? Or you like others a lot more?
No, I mean the guy's 37 years old. He's getting the fight. So all of his people that come and watch him fight. He's going to sprint to the center of the cage and probably just start swinging wildly. He'll probably get knocked down in the first round.
Yeah. What do you got on this one, Big Marley?
I kind of like Azaitar in this one. He's my name off play. I think he's really going to need the early knockout to get it done, but I'm not so sure he's not the better striker in the first round. Better wrestler as well. I'm not sold on Dumas. A win over Cody Brundage means nothing to me, to be honest with you. And the line, when the salaries came out, he was like minus 170. Now he's minus 250 to minus 270. So I think ownership's going to go along with it. And I would rather just go out, take the guy who's going to be swinging bombs, trying to knock this guy's head off, because if he wins, I think he's going to score well. And I think he's actually in play to win a decision here. The longer this fight goes, the more it should play into Dumas's favor. But Azaitar's landed like 108 significant strikes before he completely gassed out in his last fight. I don't know that Dumas has 108 strikes in his game. So Azaitar is going to be one of my favorite underdogs on the card. And I don't think the ownership, I thought he was going to be lower owned, but I was on Brett Apley's podcast last night and we both were talking him up. So I feel like he'll probably be close to 20%. I still plan on being like 30% or more though.
All right, so
I like this fight.
All right, so you want to have some fun. So here's one of your underdogs. So what are the prices here? 8,400, 70, and 70, 78?
Yeah.
So this is something you can do. Like, let's say that you have an underdog that you think is going to be somewhat owned, maybe. Like either it's Azaitar or maybe the one you said earlier, Naimov. We can even apply that to Volkanovski if you want to know the truth, because he's going to be high owned. What you could do is this. You could set a rule that, okay, so what's Dumas? You could say that in your Azaitar lineups, you want to leave 800 on the table, okay? And the reason for that is this, all right? So all the people that run optimizers, all the people do whatever, they'll run all their stuff. And if they play the other 5 fights or whatever, the fact is that Dumas is going to have a higher median projection than Azaitar. So all of those lineups are just going to fill with Dumas, okay? So if you leave the amount of money on the table that would allow you to get to the other fighter, you're getting yourself even a little extra uniqueness and a little extra leverage. Like, so if you play Volkanovski, everybody's going to like him as an underdog, but how many people are going to play Volkanovski and leave enough money on the table to have allowed you to get to Mokaev? So again, I've never tested that. I'm not as good as Nerdy Tenor and all this spreadsheet guys. I haven't tested to see if that's good, but I've been playing around with that, and it seems to make a little bit of sense. If you're if you're playing the 150, if you're playing the lotto and you need to do that, that's one way that you can get different and still play the guys that you like. Just leave enough rope for like the computers to get to the other guy.
Very sharp
I think
point.
that makes a lot of sense. And I actually remember a specific time, a guy on this card, Johnny Walker, when he fought Krylov. I remember I had the nuts lineup, but I had Walker as a favorite in my lineup, and I was hoping I had the same thing with Krylov, but I didn't, and that's what shipped it solo. Was the same lineup I had, but they took out Walker, had Krylov as the underdog, left all that salary.
Well, you know what? And one of the things, like, one of the big ones I hit in the last couple of months was I had like both sides of like the last fight or something like that. When it was, forget who it was, the last fighter the night, whatever it was. It was Blades against whoever, right? And I had both guys, and one of them left the money on the table to have gotten to Blades or something like that. So another way you could do something like that is, let's say you liked Azaitar. You build your lineups, like let's say however many lineups you were going to build with Azaitar. You run your optimizers with Dumas, and then literally just swap out like Dumas for Azaitar. So you're getting good lineups, but then you're getting different like immediately.
I just have a hard time seeing me be able to have $800 to spare on this card, to be honest.
You need 6. It'd be 6, but
6. Yeah, 6.
Yeah. No, but if you're talking, like that's how you, I mean, not to talk a little bit about Showdown yesterday, but that Derek Carr, it was literally Carr and Trevor Lawrence. It was 27,000 or 81,000. You're talking Dumas Azaitar, that could be 200,000 with Azaitar, or it could be 30,000, and no one's ever going to complain about 30,000. That's not what we're saying. But when you're 150 and you're doing all this lotto stuff, you need those hits, because you're going to lose, and it costs almost $4,000 if you're going to max the 150 tomorrow. If you're going to max the $3, it's $450. Like whatever it is, you do need those big wins. You can't just be chopping with 120 people every win. You're not going to win long term that way. So that's what Cheats is saying. When you do get that right outcome, all the money's yours, or you're sharing with a lot less people. So it's little stuff like that. We play a game. I watch some tape. I look at a lot of stuff. I watch all the fights. So it's my detriment sometimes, like the Breeden stuff, and we're talking Jubli. However, it's a numbers game. You're exploiting the field at the end of the day is how we play. So good tangent there. I think that's very important. Good knowledge right there, Sheets. Let's keep it moving. Next fight on the card, Javid Basharat taking on Victor Henry. Basharat 9,400, Henry 6,800. Basharat, huge favorite, minus 600. Victor Henry, plus 425. This fight, one of the most likely to fit or to go the distance on the card. It's plus 200 to finish. Basharat plus 275. Henry plus 650. We're going to start with you first on this one, Sheets, because Basharat could come in lowest owned on the card, or one of the lowest owned on the card, especially in this range. Rightfully so, though, because, man, he just doesn't really finish. The finishing odds aren't great in this range. if you're not playing the Dudakovas and Woods of the world, I don't think you're clicking this button. But what about Victor Henry?
That's the thing. I was going to ask you where you're going to come in with Basharat.
No, he's one of those dudes. I'm 20 and below. He's him and Fry the first.
No. I meant as far as ownership goes. I wonder where you have him even early. You have him at 15 or something.
Yeah. So looking right now. So in my head, I was thinking like 12. We have him at 16.
Well, because he has a lot of win equity. You know what I mean. So you're going to get some people to play him. Listen, he's got wrestling. He doesn't feel like that guy who's going to use his wrestling to score 130 points, though. He seems like he's going to be that guy that wrestles to get his 95-point victory. It seems that way, but 18%, whatever it is. If I had to pick one of these dumb plus 400s, though, and then this is what makes it annoying, because if somehow Javi Basharat were popular, he looked better, whatever it is, like Victor Henry's a guy that I might try, because I'm not too worried about his result when he wins, because when he wins, he's going to be putting out a lot of volume, So at the very worst, he could win a striking battle where he puts up 100x significant strikes at his price. Even still, I mean, I did a couple of kind of fake builds of the bigger buy-ins, and I needed like a $7,200 or less guy. It's annoying because I want to play Victor Henry, but it goes against everything I believe in going against fighters that are 14% owned, But I do think that Victor Henry, with his volume, at his super cheap price, if he can avoid getting freaking swamped, he could take this to 3 rounds and score. And who knows? Listen, the judges have been not too kind to wrestler grapplers that don't do much with their wrestling and grappling. So who knows what could happen? I'm probably going to take a week off from guys like Basharat with those metrics. And of the dart throws so far, I guess I like Henry the best of all of them.
I'm with you. I think this line's crazy. I'm picking Basharat because I've told myself I'm not picking against these Basharat brothers for a little bit. But in terms of DFS, Basharat defensively sound. Yeah, wrestling maybe mixes in a couple, but I'm not seeing 13 minutes of control, 8 takedowns. I'm not seeing that. So many other people I like. I'll get different with Dudakova and Wood, and that's already gross enough for me. I don't need Basharat. And for Henry, I think Victor Henry's good. So I'm going to be playing some Victor Henry there. I think the line's crazy. And yeah, you mentioned it. At 6,800, 8.67 significant strikes per minute, 79% takedown defense. He's not a bad wrestler himself. I just think he's getting disrespected at the end of the day on this line. And I love Basharat too, but at that price, any win could very well be enough. So that's the side I'm on.
In my betting breakdowns or whatever, I take some crazy stuff sometimes. And just a little disclaimer, I have Victor Henry by KO plus 20-1.
Wow.
In this matchup. Because my logic is being the only way that he's going to win is if he stays off the mat. And if he stays off the mat, here's one thing about punching a lot of volume. The more punches you throw, the more chances you have of knocking the guy out. So I actually took a shot at 20-1 with that just for funsies.
I love it. You get a Cheats TED Talk right there. You need to punch the guy to knock him out, and the more you punch him, the better chance you got. I love it. What do you got in this one, Big Marley?
Yeah, it's one of my least favorite fights to target just because I'm a big Basharat fan. I think he's better everywhere. I think he probably wins the fight and just doesn't score well enough. I think Henry is in play as a possible a loser is on the optimal lineup. It could definitely be Henry at 6,800 with 44 points or something like that for cheaper and lower ownership than Volkanovski, who most people would think is more likely to be on the optimal in a loss. But this could be one of those cards where there is a loss on that lineup. I just don't love it, man. I'm going to be targeting higher ceilings. I don't like Henry to get the win. And I think Basharat would be best used as an ownership play, but I would rather pay less for the 3 ownership plays below him. And then I like the chalkier guys above him more too. So I might not. I'm going to try and fade this fight, to be honest, and just hope that Basharat wins and scores 82 points.
I like it. We're all pretty similar there. Hopefully, Basharat on the optimal would probably not be a good day over here. I would need to get very, very lucky with one of my 150 teams, but hopefully no Basharat. Henry. I'll live with little Henry. I don't think you're fading this fight, Big Marley. I'll come right back to you. Trevor Peak taking on Muhammad Yahya. 8,200 Peak, 8,000 for Yahya. Peak minus 175. Very rarely do you get an 8,200 fighter. It is the closest line fight on the card, which is why they do it. It's all salary based on money line odds, but minus 175 for Peak, plus 150 on the way back for Yahya, minus 400 this fight to finish. Peak minus 155, Yahya plus 275. So talking ownership in this fight, we hinted at it earlier. We have Trevor Peak at 44% and Yahya at 18%. I'll get to Sheets in a little bit. Think I know where he's going on this one, but Big Marley, Trevor Peak, man, it's always going to be fun. It's not throw technique out the window. It's power coming at you. It's all heart coming at you. He'll fight for your dollar. It's going to be pretty chalky, though, and you get leverage on the other side. What do you do in this one?
Yeah, I think it's the second best fight on the card to target, almost an all-in fight because it's the mid-range priced fight of the week, but it's tied for the highest inside the distance line on the card. And Peak is a wild man. He's going to come out trying to kill Yahya, and he might do it. He could do it really in any round, but I see him being a top 3 highest owned guy on the card. And Yahya overlooked a little bit, and I think Peak kind of sucks. So I'm going to be on the Yahya side, get my leverage there. But since this is basically an all-in fight, I'm going to match the field. I'll be about 45% on Peak, but I'll also be about 45% on Yahya, which gives me way more than the field. And I'm hoping to kill off half the field with a Peak loss here. I really don't think Yahya's good either. I think he's probably the more technical striker, lower paced, though. That probably doesn't get him the striking win, but I think he could go out there, land some takedowns, and win this fight on the mat. But really just fading all that ownership. So give me Yahya in a fight between two bums.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say Peak and all that, but I have a very good feeling by the time my lineups are submitted, I'm just going to have more Yahya because I almost always do when I see ownership difference this much. I think you're going to be on the same side, Cheats, but I will say why I mentioned the Magomedov and I'm so good eating Peak ownership. I want to be overweight on this fight. I just think I'll be more overweight to the field on Yahya just because it's a lot easier to get more overweight at 18% than 44. But what do you see?
I don't say this as a brag. I said this as background. I made the live final, which took place in Jacksonville this year. And unfortunately, due to a death in the family, I was unable to attend. But I was able to obviously to put in my bets from where I was. And I spent more time on that card, obviously, than any other card. I knew it was going to be 6 weeks in advance.
Yeah.
And that was the card where Trevor Peak fought Chepe Mariscal. And it's a very similar type of situation in that Peak. It started off pick'em, and it was pick'em pretty much the whole week, and it was 8,200 8K or something like that. And the thing exploded, and Peak ended up at minus 150. And the narratives were very similar. You know, the narratives were Peak sucks. I want to fade Peak, but not now. That's what people kept saying. You know, like he's just a wild man. He's just whatever. And then Mariscal was moving up a weight class. There was all this type of thing. But I just knew that Peak, like I said, was going to be just like so popular that I just had to take the other side. I spent a lot of time on it, and it seemed to work out. There are definitely stylistic differences with that fight and this fight. That fight, Mariscal had wrestling upside that I could always kind of fall back on. You know what I mean? And this one, it's kind of hard to know what this guy really is. You know, I doubt that he has wrestling upside, but the concept is the same. You know, and it's similar to other things I've discussed since I've been here. Peak is a smash play. You know what I mean? When do you get a guy who's minus 150 to finish who's 8,200? Never, right? So you have to accept that in a vacuum he's an amazing play, but we don't play in a vacuum when we play GPPs trying to beat a million people. And then you have to ask another question. Let's say Peak didn't exist. I told you, okay, I can tell you guys 8K who's like probably plus 240 to finish. It's not bad. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
And that's not bad in and of itself. And the fact that he's going to be half the ownership at most, you know, to Peak, you're just going to have to play him. You know, in the 150, like you said, you could spread it out however you want. You know, whatever it is, you're going to have to play him. This is another good example, by the way, Marley, of where you got to do what I think I was alluding to. Is that if you play Yahya, you even leave just 200 on the table. You know, all of those lineups are going to go to Peak. You know what I mean? Because he's just got the better projection. And so this is a good example where you don't feel comfortable leaving 800 on the table. I can talk you into leaving 200 on the table, probably. You know, so this is a really good example of that. But this fight, listen, if I'm playing one lineup, I actually don't know which one I would pick. But one thing about it is that title, you're getting different in a lot of other spots, like you were saying.
Yeah.
You have a much greater license to play more peak.
For sure.
You know, like you were saying. Like, I'll eat peak chalk because, you know what? I don't want Nathaniel Wood and Dudakova to smash and me lose because I got too fancy and played Yahya. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
for me, like, I'm avoiding that those kind of like good leverage plays. I got to go a little more Yahya than, and I can't really get away with, what am I going to play? Peak, Volk, you know, Dumas, and Magomedov, and then what? You know, then I'm doing it, you know?
No, and kind of what like Peter's saying, take a stand, go 70-30 one side. Like, each lineup has to tell its own story. It doesn't matter about the ownerships you have. Like, if you have 100% of someone and 0% of someone, you took a stand, but yeah, your 100% loses and you're going to have $0. Like, it doesn't, you can have some of the best DFS players in the world, spread it out as much as you can get some of everybody, but each lineup tells a story. And that's what Cheats is saying. Like, I love that idea. Leave 200 with Yahya lineups because a lot of people will go peak. Of course, some might go the Yahya side, but little stuff like that to get different. And yeah, like my peak lineups, why I'm not going to go 100 or 0, because my peak lineup is more than likely to be in Wood lineups and Dudakova lineups. But when I'm eating a Volkanovski, Magomedov, all that, I'll probably have Yahya on more of those lineups. So it's all about how you build the lineups in that.
Do you use solver and stuff like to make those kind of lineups for you, or do you make your own rules? I use SaberSim and I do all kinds of different things with the metrics and all this stuff to make sure I don't get the wrong amount of ownerships. But when you say that, you know, you want to make every lineup tell the story, do you say like max one, say, you know, this way people used to play, like you say max one peak Volk, you know, Magomedov or something? How do you do that?
I do like clicking through a lot of my lineups too.
Okay.
So, I mean, I've used Saber back in the RPS days and stuff like that. So that's just what I've known. So what I'm familiar with. Each optimizer has its own thing, but I'm not going in and make it like your thing of the Chep or the Yahya lineups leaving 200. Now what I think I'm going to do is just click on those lineups with Yahya. And then I like to just scroll through and sort my salary and stuff like that. Yeah. So no, I'm not, because I just don't like grouping. I've made mistakes grouping myself out of too many things. So at 20 entry and below, I'll make more rules. Like if I want to have one of Islam, Volk, stuff like that, 150, I tend not to that much. Let's keep it rolling. Next fight on the card. Still plenty to talk about. Muhammad Mokaev taking on Tim Elliott, 9,600 Mokaev, 6,600 for Elliott. This fight's -105 to finish. Mokaev about -400. Tim Elliott plus 300. Elliott plus 1,200 and Mokaev plus 105 inside the distance. So Mokaev, the highest price fighter on the card. And looking at the ownership, we have about 26% for Mokaev, or we do have 26% for Mokaev, 10% for Tim Elliott. Two guys that love it on the mat. Big Marley, how do you see this one going down?
Yeah, I see this being a high-paced fight with a lot of grappling. So I like it a lot. And I think if Tim Elliott is able to win, he is a gritty veteran with a lot more experience. But if he's able to win, he's going to score more than 10x. And he has 90-plus, 100-point upside as well. Could just break the slate as the cheapest guy at low ownership. But I think everything Elliott is good at, Mokaev's just a little bit better at. He's just not as proven. But all the line values headed towards Elliott, and I think that's going to take away from Mokaev. Not only that, but just 9,600 is going to be hard to afford on this card. So I like Mokaev in this one. I think the winner of this is going to put up a high score. And I'm picking Mokaev to finish him in the first round, but I think Mokaev also has 110-point decision potential as well. So I'm going to try and get as much as I can afford. I just don't know how much that'll be. I haven't built lineups yet. I have a single entry just to shell out right now, and I think I couldn't even get to him in that lineup. So we'll see. But in my head, I want to be over the field on really on both of them. I might get like 15% Elliott and then hopefully 40+% Mokaev.
It's an interesting fight for sure. Just want to pull this up. Scary Creations talking Tim Elliott's body language look good. So Sheets, like if this fight was 9,000, 7,200, which it probably would be right around there, 9,200, 7K something at the current odds we have. Mokaev is the highest owned, but not nearly the best win equity. However, this fight is so good in terms of DFS because both guys like getting the fight to the mat. Mokaev averages, 7.34 takedowns so far in the UFC per 15. Tim Elliott, 3.88. At this price, though, like you need a big boy for Mokaev, and 115 still might not be enough. Tim Elliott on the other side, if he wins, that's why I'm going to be playing some. If he wins, I I'd struggle not to see him being on the optimal. I think the fight's on the mat of plenty reversals, all of that. What do you see this one?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just not going to work for me to pay 9,500. I think this week. If I liked more of the dart throws, I could get away with it. I just don't think I can get there. And like you said, I mean, everything can work out exactly the way he wants. Actually, if it works out exactly the way he wants, he probably busts.
Unless we get the Cody Durden first minute but yeah, that's
right.
way out.
I mean, if it works out exactly the way he wants, he gets the one takedown and he grinds him out for the first round and scores 105, or something like that, and submits him there. The Elliott side, I have this weird feeling that he ends up, putting the fight of his life together and gets a point taken away for grabbing the cage or something, and ends up a draw or something like that. I think then everybody gets screwed. But yeah, I mean, again, on another card, Mokaev, I mean, how do you dispute the metrics? But I just think that you can get the same thing out of 88, 8,900, $8,800 guys, and you get better result at a peak sometimes. You know what I mean? Like I just don't think that, again, considering all the other underdogs I like, I'm going to get to him. Now, again, I'm going to just run. I'm going to run my stuff through SaberSim or whatever and blast away all the different settings. And if I get to him, I'll get to him. But in my hand builds and stuff like that, I just don't think I'm going to end up with him.
Yeah, it makes sense at the price for sure. Like we said, 115 still might not be enough. And yeah, Clint Hawkins, man, rewatching that, I can't believe he's already coming back. What a freak of nature that is. That was 6 months ago, something like that. Steven, appreciate that. Congratulate you as well. Sheets on that win. Ross Cases, these two beefing at each other at weigh-ins. Hope everybody out there doing well. Again, like button, subscribe button helps us out a ton. All of our content will be up at chippingnation.com. Head over, check it out. Get in the Discord. 5 fights left. Main card time. Syed Nurmagomedov taking on Muyun Gafurov. 8,800. Nurmagomedov. 7,400 for Gafurov. Minus 220 for Nurmagomedov. Plus 185 on the way back. This fight's minus 130 to finish. Nurmagomedov plus 120. Gafurov plus 500. Looking at our projected ownership, Nurmagomedov 13%, and looking at Gafurov 14%. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to start with you on this one, Sheets, because one of the few cases on this card, the dog has a lot of win equity for the price. That's why I think Syed, looking at it, minus 220 for 8,800, not good on this card. Pretty much first rounder bust. Like, he's going to be low owned, but I'd rather take shots elsewhere on lower owned stuff. So I don't love that as much for Syed's side. Gafurov, he's 14%. There's enough win equity there, but I just think Syed Nurmagomedov is better everywhere and can make it his style fight. So, yeah, I think I prefer the Gafurov side, but I don't love this fight. What about you?
I like the Gafurov side here. And the problem, again, is that Saeed's going to be low owned. The issue here is that Gafurov is going to wrestle. He's going to go for takedowns. And the thing is that Saeed has incredible guillotine. And that goes both ways. Number one, if you play Gafurov, you could get guillotine in 45 seconds and lose. But on the other hand, Saeed, if he's going to rely a little bit too much on that, and next thing you know, I have 3 takedowns for a $7,400 fighter. I kind of want that. So he is actually one of my preferred underdogs, just in a vacuum, just because of his style, because of the way I think the fight can go. And like I said, I mean, how many underdogs are under plus 200? So I kind of like the Gafurov side here. And Saeed, again, the other thing that's bad about Saeed, I mean, he's lost 1 coin flip decision already. And guys, that tend to lose these coin flips can tend to lose them again. So maybe I get lucky. Maybe Gafurov can be that one grappler that doesn't do much with his grappling and sneaks out a decision here. So I actually kind of like the dog.
Yeah, no, I lean that side as well. I like Syed to win the fight. That's why I don't like as much. But at 14% at that ownership and that win equity, just naturally, I should have more than I initially thought. What are your thoughts, Marley?
Yeah, that's probably my least favorite fight to target. I think Gafurov's in play as a live dog, but really just no ceiling. But he is my preferred play of the two, just because Nurmagomedov for DFS is first round or bust. He just doesn't score enough minutes a minute, but I do think he's the better striker. I think he's the better, more dangerous grappler of the two. So I like him to win the fight, but score 70 points. So I'll probably X him. I mean, I want to X him out, but I think he's like 15 to 20% likely to get that first round finish. So that's about where I would cap him. I want no more than that. But with my hand builds, I'm trying to not click his name at all. But yeah, ideally, I'm getting away from both sides of this fight because I'd rather target underdogs with higher ceilings. But Gafurov is in play just as an underdog who is live to win, but he probably scores 60 to 70 points if he gets it done.
Makes sense. Yeah, I'm hoping this fight isn't on the alto as much. I do prefer the dog, though. Sheets likes Gafurov a little more than both of us as well. Keep it rolling. 4 fights left on the card. Aliskerov taking out Warley Alves, 9,500. Aliskerov, 6,700 for Warley Alves. Aliskerov, the biggest favorite on the card, or actually might be second biggest now with Basharat, minus 575. Warley plus 425 on the way back. Minus 400 for this fight to finish. Aliskerov minus 275. Alves plus 600. And Aliskerov plus 115 in round 1. Looking at her ownership, Aliskerov 38%. Warley Alves 10%. So Warley Alves stepping in short notice up a weight class for Imavov. Pretty big step down in competition, in my opinion, for Aliskerov going from Imavov. I was very excited for that fight to Warley Alves. What are your thoughts on this one, Big Marley?
Yeah, I like this fight. If I can afford Ikram, then he makes a lot of sense. Minus 275 inside the distance, plus 115 to win in round 1. And round 1 will be the hardest round for him. After round 1, I feel like it should get easier and easier on the feet and on the ground. But if Warley wins this fight, it's probably a first-round finish, knockout or submission, and he breaks the slate at 6,700. I would rather have him over a Naimov for less ownership, for less money. So I do want some Alves exposure here, but I do think he gets put away at some point. It's just that, man, 9,500 is a lot to pay, plus damn near 40% ownership. I would rather pay $100 more for Mokaev at lower ownership, who I think has more ways to score well, who's going to be in a higher paced fight, probably gets more takedowns, more reversals, more live for a first round finish, in my opinion. I mean, not really. I just think that the first round's hardest. And then after that, once Warley gasses out, it should just be easier for those takedowns to come. Probably grabs his arm and rips it off with the Kimura. But I'm looking to go underweight or around field weight on Ikram because I like Mokaev more, and I don't think I can afford them both. So I'm trying to think of ways to get different on this card. I don't mind paying less for Wood, Dudakova, Jubli. So the more I talk to myself, I feel like I'm going to get away from the Aliskerov chalk, and then Alves maybe be a 15-20% play for me, just in hopes that he can land something big. But I don't think he wins the fight. He probably gets finished in the second or third round.
I like it. Cheats, I know what you're doing. You're not paying $9,500 for none of these guys. Warley Alves, though, I'm a little curious on what you're going to do with him. What are you going to do?
Aliskerov, 110, is it enough? That's the question, right? 110, is it enough? Does he even get the 110? You know, between 100 to 110 at 40% ownership? I'll say this. If I'm going to have lines with Aliskerov, those are going to be the ones with Victor Henry and you know and other baloney like that, you know. Alves again, plus 4. He only wins the fight 20% of the time, but the 20% of the time that he wins, that's
probably
there,
optimal.
That's
18+%.
He's gonna make it in there. He's gonna make it in the Bills. I have to say he might make it in the Bills almost as much as Aliskerov, just the way it's going to play out, you know, just the way I'm going to build. So, yeah, I mean, this is what you have to do. I mean, you can't, like, for purposes of DFS, can't say, I don't think he's going to win. I'm just looking at this. Yeah, of course, sure. I don't think he's going to win. But 20% of the time, he's going to win. That's just the bottom line. You know, otherwise, I would spend all my money on the other side. So, and of those 20% of the times, you have Aliskerov, who's going to be 40%. Like, that's the difference, or 30, whatever. That's the difference between the Alves play and, say, the Jinyu Fry play. You know, like Jinyu Fry play does nothing for you, nothing for it, does less for you when she wins as Alves does when he wins.
Yeah, 100%. So this is where I did like when I build 20 teams, like how I write my strategy, I put more of my own bias and my own thoughts in it because at the end of the day, people are playing. Usually, most people play my content 1 team, 3 teams. Like if they win 5,800 off of $15. They're happy with it. That's not the lineup I'm trying to get, but I want my own thoughts in there. And like 20 teams or less, when I can pick, I'm not going to have any Alves because I think he gets starched. In 150, though, that's some of your plays you ask. Alves is going to be in there, and everything you said, his ownership, you get leverage. When he wins, he's going to score big. It's just, if I only played 1 to 3 teams and I was looking at content and it's Warley Alves, and I just don't think he wins, like, I just prefer Victor Henry in teams like that and some other cheap dogs. But
I'll tell you, the more I'm looking at this, I mean, we've talked through this. I mean, I didn't even think about him as much as you guys did. I think the Tim Elliott play is better than I originally had thought.
Yeah.
Just based on all the stuff that we just said, Tim Elliott's just got just a good winning chance of better than these other jokers, and he's fighting a guy who's also going to be like really, really popular.
And
so
a fight that's like a coin flip to go 15, and just a lot of big favorites. Let's say all favorites somehow win, which would sting for me. But at least Volk's 7,500. They got They got the fight stack there last time, but Elliott getting 45 was not the craziest thing by any means. So yeah, and like I like that. Yeah, Elliott more than Alves and stuff here, but we still got 3 fights left to talk about. Hoop and I will be talking a little NFL cash in 25 minutes on this channel as well. So
NFL cash? You got to put me to sleep. Really? NFL cash? All right.
Hey,
sorry, go ahead.
Hey, we like the dollar bills over here. Whatever it is, grind the 4% ROIs into the cash streets. Next fight on the card, Magomedov Ankalaev taking on Johnny Walker. 9,100 Ankalaev, 7,100 for Walker. Ankalaev minus 355, Johnny Walker plus 290. This fight's minus 190 to finish. Ankalaev minus 120. Johnny Walker plus 425. Looking at her ownership, Ankalaev coming in 22%, Johnny Walker 15%. And I think that is pretty accurate. I don't think much ownership in this one, cumulative. Personally, I'm seeing this fight, Big Marley. I think it can play out very boring. At range, Ankalaev doesn't go to his wrestling. He's scared of Johnny Walker's power. Johnny Walker stares in the mirror like he usually does, and this fight busts. I get it from the props and stuff, so I'm excited to see what Cheats is going to say after. But how do you see this fight going down? What are you doing in DFS?
Yeah, I don't love it because I agree. I think it's just going to be a slower-paced striking match where they're both a little tentative of the other's power. But for Walker to win, he's going to need a knockout. And it's probably got to be early because he's going to be the one that's slowing down as this fight moves along. And if Ankalaev is striking, the only way he's going to be on the optimal is a first-round knockout. But I do think it would be smart of him to just go out there and look for takedowns where you really don't have to worry about Walker off his back. Also, if you're looking for takedowns in the first round, you're taking away that explosion and that power from Walker. Have him guessing as the fight moves along. So if I'm Ankalaev's coach, I'm having him wrestle in this fight, and then he can put up a good score. But I don't think he's the smartest of fighters, and he can win the fight on the feet. So I don't want a whole lot of exposure. Him being like low 20s, in my opinion, does give me more interest. But I do see this being a fight where Ankalaev wins. He scores 68 points, and it doesn't cut it. But I do think he has a ceiling that can be hit with a first-round knockout or with wrestling.
Yeah, I agree. I'm Cheats. Take it away, man. What are you doing in this one?
Yeah, minus 110 to finish. But you know what? How much of that is really in the first round? Like you were saying, and if this gets to like round 2, you get one of those Roman Kopylov, 90-point wins, or something like that. I don't know. 22% feels about right. You know what I mean? So I don't really think I'm getting.
Would Dudakova, Ankalaev, if you had to pick one?
I'm taking the week off from Dudakova play, so it would have to be Ankalaev. The other thing about Johnny Walker is he also, in his last fight, he won by just basically throwing leg kicks like for 15 minutes. He might try that again. So I think all that is kind of a recipe for a boring fight. So I'm going to agree with you guys that it's probably a pass.
Love it. Relax up there. Somehow Walker sub plus 2,400. Hey, I don't hate that long number. You got those. You got first round DQs, Clint out there and stuff like that, Brennan. So plus 2,400. You can never chirp a number like that. 2 fights left, and man, 2 sick fights. Hamzat Chimaev taking on Kamaru Usman. 8,900. Chimaev 7,300 for Usman. Chimaev coming in minus 330. Usman plus 270 on the way back. This fight's minus 200 to finish. Chimaev minus 150 inside the distance. Usman plus 625. So it's supposed to be Paulo Costa. Now comes to Usman taking this fight short notice. Up a weight class is moving to 185 in this one. Chimaev has looked unstoppable besides the Gilbert Burns fight, but showed some resistance in that one. I'll start with you in this one, Sheet. So we got Chimaev at 46%, and we have Usman at 25%. So leverage looks to be on the Usman side. What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, Chimaev probably crushes him, but whatever. I mean, it's like you said, he's 50% owned, and Usman's 22%, and whoever wanted to play Usman now really doesn't want to play him because of the video of him popping his knee or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Of all the underdogs, I mean, the only thing I feel nervous about is Usman's got so much name value that I feel as though maybe he's getting overowned.
I think Chimaev's name value. Even
I'm not worried too much about that. But yeah, I think Usman's a big part of all the underdog pools. I mean, and Chimaev side again. I caution to put Chimaev. Don't put Chimaev with Peak, with Dumas, with Magomedov. You know what I mean? Like make sure that you know what you're doing. And even something like Chimaev Volk, like that's already asking for trouble. Like Chimaev Volk Peak, already you're really in stress if you're trying to win the big money.
Yeah, good point. So I think any two fighters you can pick and be fine with. I just think if you're picking the two, Chimaev Peak or Chimaev Volk, then you got to really start. Dudakova would in both of them, something that with 13 fights. But great points there, and that's important. Like we talk about game theory, like it's more than just picks and stuff like that. MMA, we're playing an ownership game against people. Got to talk about stuff like that. That's where all the money's made. Big Marley, how do you see this fight going?
So yeah, early in the week, I was kind of worried that Usman would just be very owned with the name value. But as the week moves along, man, all I've heard is just Chimaev. Nobody's picking Usman really.
Yeah.
And then the video comes out, which I'm saying cap. I don't think there was any knee issue in that video. I didn't hear nothing saying he popped. I thought he
wouldn't be fighting. That's my take. If he really popped his knee, the dude's not going to walk out there and pull a TJ Dillashaw.
Not to scare you, but is that like a risk after lock?
No, I don't think so.
Fight gets canceled?
I'm not changing exposures. If so,
I mean, it probably helped me, to be honest, if it does, because I'm taking a stand on this fight. But hear me out. All right, so Chimaev is averaging over 115 DraftKings points per win. I picked him to get a knockout. He's never scored less than 100. I think at 185 pounds, this helps him out a lot more. It makes sense on paper, but I have him as the highest projected guy on the card because it's nothing but Chimaev hype everywhere I've listened. And I'm not so sure he's a better fighter, to be honest with you. I mean, Usman, I was saying 1 year ago, Usman beats any middleweight in history, maybe the best UFC fighter on the planet. And all we've really seen since then is he lost a close decision to Leon Edwards. And in my opinion, Edwards got that decision because the judges were so impressed that he didn't get taken down. Not that he was really kicking Usman's ass. It's just that, oh my God, he didn't get wrestle fucked for 5 minutes in this one. I liked him to win that round. I don't think it was that clear. And and back to the video. I don't think it was a knee issue at all. The way I saw it was he hit his head on the mat. Justin Gaethje grabbed his arm, looked him directly in the eyes. You okay? Just to make sure he's not concussed. He's good to go. He's fine. So that video is meaningless to me, in my opinion. And I'm completely switching my preferred pick over to Usman. I'm going to fade Chimaev on this card because of that ownership. It's only a 3-round fight, and people are going to be rostering him like it's a 5-round fight. And I think there's a lot of other big favorites on this card who could just outscore him. I think Chimaev's live to score 70 points in a decision win here. But if Usman wins, I think he could outstrike him for 15 minutes. I think he could knock him out in any round. I think he could wrestle him for 3 rounds. I'm just not sold on Chimaev as much as everybody else is, and this line is too wide. So give me Usman as my preferred play. And even though I picked Chimaev, like I do my picks on Mondays and Tuesdays, enough time has gone by where at this point I'm just going to change my pick. Like on this show, I'll take Usman just because of all the hype. Let me get rid of that hype train. I'm still high on Chimaev. If he loses this fight, probably gets the belt one day. But I think it's just gone a little bit too far.
No, I love the breakdown. I'm picking Chimaev. I mean, I think the physical strength advantage, you can feel on the mat, but we don't play that guessing game. Ownership-wise and all that, I'm probably going to have more Usman to the field than I will Chimaev. And I love your last point, and one of the points you made, Big Marley. People are playing Chimaev like a 5-round fight almost. He would be higher owned, of course, but just that name value in the co-main event. Maybe a lot of people see pay-per-views and they are used to a lot of 2 5-rounders. Chimaev definitely 50% with that name, maybe even a little higher. So I like that there. We have one fight left, and Big Marley has to go out of here in 2 minutes. So Big Marley, Islam, Volkanovski, give your final thoughts on that. People can see in the website as well. But before you get on out of here, then Cheats and I will take it away.
Yeah, for the main event, I'm just going to be all in. I think it's a great fight. Islam put up 94 in the win last time. Now he's cheaper. He's going to be my preferred play because I think it's going to be similar to that last fight. He's going to have the wrestling and grappling edge. He probably puts up a big score in the process. Now he doesn't even have all the fans on Volkanovski's side. They're going to be on his side. So I think the line's probably about right. But the way I see it is that I'm going to be all in with 20 or less lineups. I'll probably be around 60%. Islam, 40%. Volkanovski. But that 60% probably makes Islam my highest owned fighter on the card. So love this fight. I will be rooting for Volkanovski. I would much rather see him get the win. And I was thinking that he would be my highest owned underdog, but he's probably going to be pretty chalky. And if he's going to be more and more chalky, I feel like he's everyone's favorite if there's going to be a loser on the optimal lineup. And even that could boost his ownership up more. So maybe I'm just trying to think of ways to get different on this card. And I'll listen back to your guys' thoughts on these last two fights. But good luck, Sheets. Thanks for coming on. Good luck, Tito. Congrats to both you guys on your big wins last night. And it was nice meeting you, Sheets.
Thank you, and congrats to you on the Monday King of the Beach. And yes, you get on out of here. Sheets and I will take.
What's King of the Beach? That's a qualifier?
Yeah.
So what is that for? For what sport?
Football. NFL.
It's in
like
Miami this year. In 2 weeks, we got to compete top 75 out of 250.
Oh, so it's like the MMA thing. So
yes,
what are you down to now? How many?
No, it's 225 goes down to 75. So all gets in a pool. It's unlike MMA, it's 3. It's just one big one, week 8 or week 9. 225 goes to 75.
In there too.
So you got to play that sort of like cash, but not really, like a little bit
Correct.
Of a blend. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
It is. Big Marley, awesome stuff.
Right,
as always.
Peace out, guys. Good luck, everybody.
Let me get this 2-shot. Yep, there we go. Boom, boom. Oh, that's not it. Let's see. Oh, here we go. That's because I had that. Hold on. There we go. Technology these days. All right, Cheats. Let's talk some main event. So just a little more context. Our ownership, we have Islam at 49, Volk at 40. I think that definitely is fair. Maybe even a little closer. I think that is fair, though. Islam minus 240, Volk plus 205. This fight, plus 115? Or fight inside minus 145 for this fight to finish. Islam plus 135. Volk plus 325. Struggling over here. The price makes it interesting. I'm curious. Are you overweight, underweight on this fight? What are you doing?
You know, I hope all those ownerships add. It seems like there's so many high fighters here. You know, we talked about Ikram at 40 and Dumas at 30 and the first fighter at 35, and now we're saying that 50 and 40 of these two, not to mention 40 on Chimaev. Maybe
there's a lot of low under 50%.
You know what? You're gonna do it to me again. I'm gonna end up freaking playing Wood and Dudakova again. I haven't learned my lesson. I'm just totally gonna do this. You play those two with Yahya and Victor Henry and
look at how it all flipped from the beginning. There we go.
But listen, here's the reality about this fight. It's gonna be high owned, and only one of the fighters that wins this, only one of the fighters can not guarantee, is really likely to be in the optimal if they win, and that's Volkanovski. Okay, like if Volkanovski wins at 70, what is he? 7,500, something like that?
75, yeah.
7,500. I mean, a 5-round fight. I mean, he's not scoring less than 100, right? I guess. So he's going to get in there, and Mokaev doesn't have to if he wins. Okay, and that's I guess that's kind of the bottom line. You know what I mean? Like, so I think I do like Volkanovski more. Now, again, we could talk through, you know, like the breakdown of the fight. You're better at that than I am. You know, listen, obviously Volkanovski, it's more likely that he's regressed from the last fight than Mokaev. You know, Volkanovski's taken on short notice. He's been coming off the couch, and Mokaev, you know, has been making improvements, maybe whatever it is. So I guess I have to dispense with that and say, yeah, I mean, Volkanovski, if I had to pick one of these fighters, I'd probably have to pick him. But again, same thing. You take a 40% on Volkanovski, then the other guys, I can't play him with like Ikram and whatever. So, and this is one of the things I talk about a lot is the difference between who's a good play and who I'm going to play. You know, and it's really, really different. Both of these guys in a vacuum are good plays. And peace to Marley, if he lock in this fight, you know, and get different in other spots. I can't do it. I'm going to, at best, be with the field, but probably way under. I mean, that's just the way I kind of play with these main events. It's tough because it's 5 rounds. And 5 rounds is it's 60% more, right, than every other fight as far as available fantasy points. But 13 fights, I think I could beat these two. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I think that last point, this being 13 fights, 12 fights, I very well might have made a rule to lock. In 20 entry and below, I know I would have made a rule to get that extra 13 with a lot of them supposed to finish and 90% cumulative ownership. Like in my 150, I'll probably end up a little under. I'm not going to let myself go too far under because I do think there's enough. If I'm playing Dudakova, if I'm playing Wood and all like Yahya, I'm playing them to get some chalk. And look, so I'll breaking down this fight before we get on out of here just generally. Like you look at the first fight of these two, very, very close. I thought it was 48-47 Islam. I've watched it a couple times, but don't think you can argue with Volk. Volk outstruck Islam 70-57. Did record a knockdown in that one too. Volk went 0 for 4 on takedowns. Islam went 4 for 9, 7.5 minutes of control time for him. Volk just, man, he made him work. And as the fight went on, Islam slowed a little bit. Volk was getting stronger. Like that's a street fight. Volk's going to finish him at the end of the day with no clock. My concern though, Volk taking this fight on short notice. He was 180 when he got the call, which is absolutely crazy. These dudes are freaks. I just am not sure that takedown defense and the strength that he's giving up in this one. Islam's going to fight at 170, I think, after he wins this fight. I'm picking Islam. I don't think he's going to go 155 so much longer. He wants to be double champ. He's already talking about that. He's going to fill out great at 170. Whereas Volk at 145, again, he's big, stout, rugby, all that. I just think the takedowns as the fight goes on will be easier. The top control will be better. The short notice, I don't know if I'm looking into it too much. Volk is pound for pound for me, man. I think he's pound for pound #1 in the UFC, what he did last time. How do you bet against him? But I'm on Islam's side, picking the fight, breaking it down. As far as ownership, I mean, man, if I have 50% one guy, 30% the other, and I like all my other exposures, I don't care who that guy is. I don't have a strong lean when it comes to that because I agree with you. Islam can win and not get there. Volk wins. It's pretty hard not seeing him get there. So what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, listen, I want to just take a couple of minutes. I know you have to go and, recommend Zach Evans, Lamar Jackson, and Teddy Walker and NFL Cash or whatever it is. But listen, for those of you that are members of this community, I don't know all the guys in here, but I know Zach for like a while because I was a consumer of content. I was following his takes, and one of the things that you could really rely on from him is honesty and backing up his shit. I remember back it was yesterday when he came right out like 3 weeks beforehand or whatever. He says, "I'm going all in on Charles Oliveira against Michael Campbell." Right? And he went 100% of it. He said he was going to do it. And he did it, and he came out and he said, I'm going all in on I think it was the Garbrandt fight recently or something like that. And so he'll come out with his takes and he'll be honest about it. He's not going to win every week. Nobody's going to win every week. He doesn't believe his own bullshit like some of the people out here that think they know freaking everything. He's just trying to learn whatever. And you guys are really on to some really good content with him. Again, I don't know the other guys, so I can't speak for them. I know Marley a little bit, but these guys do really, really good work. I don't even want to get into my own stuff. You could find me.
Hey, do it. If you want to find YouTube,
you can find me on YouTube. The website I do content for is True DFS. I do things a little differently or whatever. But this is a really, really good community, and these guys do a really, really good job. And I wish all of them the best. And if you ever want to have me back, just feel free.
Oh, absolutely would love. I really do appreciate those words. Like I said, coming from, I do look at you as a legend. I look at Sheets is one of those guys. There's pros I look at his lineups in a lot of different sports, always try to get better. If you ain't trying to get better in all aspects of life, you're doing something wrong. But those words I really do appreciate. And if you want to see Sheets breakdowns, he said True DFS, you go on YouTube. He does some breakdowns there. He's always in the Shipping Nation Discord and stuff as always. But man, these Sheets, everyone in here appreciates it. One of the sharpest dudes out there, giving it how it is. And yeah, we try. I'm always trying to be transparent and stuff. Some things change last minute. Ownerships are a little different than I initially thought, but always try and be honest, transparent in all aspects of life. That's how you do it. So final word, Sheets. And again, congrats to you. 25,000 in the MLB streets yesterday. Final words for the people.
Hey, I was about to say, that the tagline to ship it or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't know the hat. I was laughing at the intro, music or stuff like that. you guys just keep learning, just keep trying to get better.
I love that. Thank you very much. You can find Sheets on Twitter. You can find him probably above you in the DFS lobby as well. Head over to shippingnation.com. All MMA projections, ownership will be up on the site. Hoop and I talking NFL cash in 5 minutes. Like button, subscribe button on the way out. Good luck to everybody. Again, set your alarms, 10 a.m. Eastern. Thank you, everybody out there. Appreciate all the love and the words. For Sheets and Big Marley, who's not here right now, I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.